Welcome. Thank you for tuning in to the Liquid Wisdom Podcast, where we take the fear out of everyday life, one episode at a time. So if you're not scared, let's jump into the deep end right now, and please, don't pee in the pool. Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back. It is I, Professor Liquid. Of course, you know who it is. And welcome back to another episode of the Liquid Wisdom Podcast. Of course, if you're listening to this episode, then that means we are in part 3 of what is, I'm considering one of the most important series that I've ever had to record. Talking about the importance of mental health and that sort of thing. And of course, you know how it goes. Of course, I'll provide my take on it, and then of course I bring in so many amazing people from different walks of life, and they come in and they provide their take on it. And in this particular episode, this is a huge treat. I'm so excited to sit down with them and to talk about mental health and some other things. So let me give you a quick bio before we bring them on, okay? So they are 22 years of age, okay? 22 years. They are, of course, a non-binary producer and streamer. They make music accessible to queer artists and in the community at large. They are becoming one of a quick, cool friend of mine. So excited to finally talk to them. We have a classically trained musician, Sid. Sid, how you doing?
Hello, I'm all right.
That's good. No, welcome. Like I'm so excited to finally sit down and talk with you. You know, quick backstory. I spoke with Sid a couple days ago, and you know, Sid, you know, they're very they're very busy. So it feels really great to, you know, have them, you know, slice some time and come in and sit down and talk with me. I'm super thankful for it, Sid. I can't thank you enough for doing this on such short notice.
No, thank you so much for having me here. It's very nice to get to chat with you.
Yeah, so we're gonna make history today. So I'm super excited. We're talking about mental health, music, but before we do all that, so let's just dive right into it. So, would you mind just giving a little bit of your backstory? And, you know, like what got you into music, that sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. So pretty much like since I can remember, I've been sort of musically inclined. My mom was very, very much annoyed with me when I was younger because I would never stop singing, and it was terrible. And so, you know, I sort of started studying, obviously, you know, public school. We had a music program, went through that, and in like 3rd grade, they offered an option to audition for the city choir. And I was so excited, and I was like, I was gonna audition, and this is gonna be my shot, and I was gonna be the next Britney Spears. And my mom was in the corner trying to figure out how she was gonna tell me, you know, we can't win them all. We can't. We cannot always get the audition. We cannot always do what we want. And but you know, that sounds a little mean, but the context given to that is that
right, that matters.
A couple months before, we had gone on a road trip, and I was singing along to the Kelly Clarkson Breakaway album, and my brother said, "Wow, you sound a lot like Kelly Clarkson."
Right.
In a bag of cats, being beaten by a bag of cats.
Oh, I did not. Okay, I got so thrown off by that. It's like, oh, okay, you sound like Kelly Clarkson.
Rolling down the alley.
Oh my goodness.
And so, yeah, it wasn't great because I was like 7. But I wound up making it into the city choir, and she was like, well, okay, I didn't see that coming. So I kind of kept going down that path, and then in middle school, I wanted to do band, wind ensemble, and so we went to the instrument tryout night, and the lines were long. They were dreadful. So my mom was like, whatever the first instrument that works is, that's the instrument we're gonna get. And I was like, okay, that's fine by me because I want to eat dinner. So I went in. First instrument I tried was clarinet. Band director said, you have a great chin for clarinet, which turns out she told everyone. But I was able to make a sound on the instrument, so we said, that's it, that's the one. And then kind of from there on, rest is history, except in the 8th grade, I did discover Berklee. And I set my sights on it, and I tried out a couple of their online production classes. And naturally, my response to being interested in that was, well, better keep studying the clarinet intensely for the next 4 years, which was a little backwards. And so then, you know, I went through high school and I worked really hard. You know, if I had a free moment, I feel like I was practicing clarinet. Then I sort of ran into trouble because I got into a very, very bad relationship.
Oh no.
This person, I'll spare you the details, but it was fairly abusive, and it essentially became that way because this is by his own admission and his own words, so this isn't me saying anything about myself, but he said that it turned out that way because he was so incredibly insecure about himself as a musician, and so he took it upon himself to try to undermine and chip away at my growth. And in addition to that, we had a new band director come in who also was not fantastic. The first day we met, I actually went into his office and I was asking about, you know, scheduling options if band were to conflict with one of my AP classes. And sorry, my computer just tried to switch my audio.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, and I went in and he said, well, I don't think you know what dedication is. And so given these things, I was kind of like, no, fuck y'all. I'm gonna do what I want.
Right.
And one of the things that drove me through those couple years was right before the previous band director left. He looked at me, he hugged me, we were saying goodbye, he announced his retirement, and he was like, you're gonna be the next all-state clarinetist. And I was like, oh, that's no pressure. Okay, thanks. And so I just kept saying, you know what? No matter what garbage is happening right now, I'm gonna make that band director proud. And so I did, and I worked really hard, and I made it to all-state playing E-flat clarinet, which is the cute little piccolo clarinet. And I went to Berklee. And yes, like I was like, I'm free, I'm out of this, I'm adult now. Woo, let's go.
Let's go, yeah. And for those of you who don't know, Berklee is a really huge, prestigious music school in Boston, right? In Boston, Boston, right?
Yep, that's correct.
And here, now the cool thing is now Sid, you know, they are a classically trained musician, and we're gonna get into the even more cooler bits of their production, that sort of thing, because blown away. So here's the thing, Berklee, it has some pretty notable alumni, right? So for those who don't know, Berklee has I think John Mayer is a graduate from there, Quincy Jones, John Schofield, I believe, Charlie. I can never get the last name. Puth? Is it Puth? Charlie?
Yeah,
Puth?
it's Charlie Puth.
Puth. Okay, I keep getting so nervous on the last name because I want to say Puth. I want to say poop or anything. I say, is it? You know, but like I said, so a lot of incredibly influential, very great musicians have gone through those halls, and Sid, they are another amazing musician to go through there. So I just want to create some context for all the listeners. So please continue. Sid, my apologies.
Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, so I go to Berklee, and then I say, well, shit, what am I gonna do now? Because a big goal of mine going to Berklee was like, I want to, like, I feel like I've done what I can with this classical clarinet thing, and I don't feel like, you know, continuing to beat this dead horse and become an orchestral clarinet player is in the cards for me. So I wanted to sort of break out of my shell and learn something new. And for a couple years, I was like, I'm completely lost. I don't know what any of this is. I'm overwhelmed. Berkeley doesn't really lend you much in spoon feeding you when you first get there. They kind of expect you to already be well versed in contemporary music, which I very much was not. I was like, what? I show up to my first day of like basic theory, and they're like, so you're gonna pick your jazz standard and you're just gonna like arrange the whole chart. And I'm like, what are these words that you're saying to me? Ooh, notes on a page is what I'm used to doing, and that's it. So it took a lot, and eventually I did come across the major that I wanted, and that was contemporary writing and production, because it sort of encompassed every genre of writing, and I was very fascinated by writing, and I was like, I just want to write notes on a page and have other people play it for once. I want to create things. And then, but I was still very frustrated with production, and I was still very like confused as to what it even was. Because by this point, my memories of taking those sample classes in the 8th grade far gone, very blurry.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't know what this is. I don't understand this concept, until finally I took a class with one of my many favorite professors at Berkeley, Loudon Stearns. And he wound up explaining to me in class, when he kind of realized through one of my projects being not great and me being very frustrated with it, that I didn't know what the heck mixing was. And he explained to me, it's much like having a little nervous dog that you need to guide through a busy city, and you need to give the dog a leash and have it focus and go through the city and then paint the landscape outside of that. And I was like, oh wow. And it all started sort of taking shape for me, and that's when I got into production. That's when I started thinking about making my own studio, which since COVID is now put on the back burner for a little bit. And yeah, so ever since then, I've been really excited about production. That's my new love. Writing and producing is what I do, and I'm just trying to make it more accessible so people don't have to go through the long journey that I took.
like you took the long journey, so they won't have to go through that. I feel it. No, Sid, because I've listened. Of course, well, special announcements. Some are done. I'm not going to spoil it now, but there's a huge cool thing happening with the podcast. I'll tell you all later. But Sid, so correct me if I'm wrong. So you can read music, write music, produce, and you can also perform as well. So you can essentially do it all.
I try.
Well, they try, but they do really well. Sid is a really well versed. I call you a musician, because musicians tend to be able to dip their toes in multiple facets when it comes to performance and music and that sort of thing. And I think in order to be a well-versed musician, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a musician, but doesn't it tend to lead to a more fulfilling and robust career by being able to understand multiple facets of music like that, to be on multiple sides, like the writing, production, writing, that sort of thing?
For sure. I definitely think it's an important skill to have, to at least dip your toes in a little bit of everything, because no matter which part of music that you really focus on and you develop, you're going to be working with musicians and other parts of the process that involve those other skills. So understanding how that works, I think, is really important to creating something that works very well and sounds very good on all aspects.
Okay. No, that's really cool, because what I was going to ask is, I won't ever try to speak for everybody, but I know for me, when I've had my issues of stress and I've been depressed at different points in my life, man, music has helped me a great deal. So how has it been for you? Because I know you touched on it earlier, when you was explaining, your life story and that sort of thing. How influential, instrumental, no pun intended, was music? I just realized what I did. But has music been for you when it came to you, dealing with your mental health and your stress or sadness or grief and that sort of thing?
Oh, incredibly. I mentioned this, I think, while we were talking the other day.
Yeah.
when I was younger, like I felt like music was getting me through, all of the rough stuff that I was, going through as I was growing up. Different family issues and even just like petty like social drama. Like if I was listening to music or if I was creating music, it was like an escape, and it kind of felt like everything was okay, and it was very cathartic. And it even got to the point in the 8th grade, that time period that I mentioned earlier, we moved to California for a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And so I was away from like all of my friends and everything that I knew, and I was having a really hard time at that different school.
Wow. And
I didn't really realize it until I had done it enough days, but I was practicing my clarinet for like 7 hours a day. On weekends, if I had like a free day, I was doing nothing but that, which was kind of bananas. So yeah, for sure. It's always been my go-to if I've been distressed in any sort of way, or even if I just need to process something that I don't understand yet.
Okay, so I guess that because that leads to a very curious thing, and I would love to hear your take on it. So, how important is, at least for you, how important is mental health to a musician? Because through your explanation and through talking to other people who definitely took a deep dive into music, it takes a mental strain. At the same time, it takes a mental strain because you want to make sure that because you're creating art essentially, right? So you want to make sure that it speaks to you and can speak to the listener, but at the same time, all of your feelings can be heard in the music itself. It's beautiful how something like that can be done. So how important is it for you?
Yeah, so I think mental health is absolutely imperative. Doing any sort of creative work. There's this sort of myth about the tortured genius in art and in music and literature, where we talk about people like Vincent van Gogh, who like had terrible like mental struggles, but they created beautiful art. I don't necessarily think that that's true. I think that archetype was sort of created to mystify the whole experience. In order to be productive or create anything of any kind, you need to be mentally well, right? You need to be able to function, and I think even people who aren't artists can understand and speak to that. Because, when you're struggling, like you're bogged down, you got the brain fog, like nothing's happening the way it should. And that's how it works with music too, especially because it's something that's such a extensive process and can take even like months to create a really like solid piece of work.
No, absolutely.
So I do think that it's true that those difficult feelings and mental health struggles do help contribute to the content, the emotional content of the music, but I feel like that's always after the fact. It's always part of, processing the things you've been through afterwards when you are more stable and capable of creating. So I think, personally, for me, what's always been most important in my music is journaling frequently and making sure that I'm in touch with myself and I know where I'm at mentally. So that way I'm able to take those feelings, to take the difficulty and turn it into something beautiful while I'm functioning. And
that's great. Nah, this is great. I'm listening because it's like this is something we could all like learn from. So correct me if I'm wrong. So in your creative process, are you proactively just making sure that you're okay throughout the creation process? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
nice,
That's I
nice.
like specifically like I think this hit me the most like last year, maybe a little before that. I think I started like late 2018. I started realizing like I wasn't creating as much as I wanted to be, and it was often because like of like depressive spells or like anxiety attacks that were like consuming my days and eating away at my time. And I was like, I need to make sure that I'm taking care of myself so that I can be an active participant in life. Because I feel like if you aren't living your life and you aren't here and you aren't present, it becomes very difficult to A, remember you want to make something at all, or B, like really like key into like those key moments that influence your art and influence your ability to tie in lived experience into the things that you're creating.
Wow, that is very soulful. It's always cool listening to creators, talk about, their process, and hearing yours is just as beautiful as the other experiences that I've had the honor of listening to. And I believe what you're doing is a much more healthier approach, if I must say, because like I said, I've never created any piece of music a day in my life, but I can understand how tiring and how taxing mentally and even physically sometimes it can be
Mhm.
to create something. Like I of course I podcast, so I gotta make sure the sound is good, audio quality, all that sort of thing. But you're creating
Yeah.
something that, people that's going to convey so many more feelings outside of the initial onset. So by
Mhm.
proactively keeping yourself in check throughout the process, rather than, like you said, the torture genius where you just endure and endure and endure, and then
Mhm.
to the point of losing your sanity, I think is a,
Yeah.
I think that's a much more healthier approach. So if you mind me asking, Sid, so on some of the occasions where maybe when you were younger, maybe you don't have the issue now. What are some of the things that you used to cope? Do you go to music to help cope through a lot of these other feelings that you experience in your daily life, either from creation or from other things that stress you out, or do you have another medium in which you use in order to help yourself find your balance and your center again?
Yeah, so music obviously is a big part of it. I mentioned earlier, especially when
Hmm.
I was younger, just like practicing and all of that.
Yeah.
Um, since some of the experiences I've had in high school, between the abusive relationship
Yeah.
and that contentious relationship with that band director,
Yeah.
I some of it, particularly the performing aspect, has become incredibly anxiety ridden for me.
Mm.
So that's not always something that I can go to. Sometimes I do need to get away from music and I do need to have a little reprieve and have, you know, my personal time.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, definitely. I respect
so
it. I respect it.
so outside of that, I spent a lot of time in therapy, exploring other coping methods. So journaling has been an incredible one for me. Writing in general, like getting words on the paper and just being like, there are my feelings, they are there. I can affirm what is real and what is not, and I can sort of sort out all that internal shit. I can also sometimes find reprieve in things like meditation or painting, um, things like that. Typically, I'm not very good at them, but they are
Mm.
things that I am more willing to accept not being good at, and
Okay.
that's something that's been actually,
Wow, that's cool.
um, yeah, that's like a very important thing for me to practice. I think, and a very calming and reassuring thing for me to practice is like
Mm.
just being bad at something for a little bit, because I feel like we put so much pressure on ourselves to be incredible and like prolific and
Wow.
just like the best of the best of the best, and like always trying to like have that edge and be better. But sometimes
Hmm.
like we just need to be like, it's okay to just do things for the sake of doing them.
Right. Yeah, the soul of it all. Like I
Yeah.
think that's so cool because it's because you, of course, put yourself through the rigors of applying your skill and just honing your craft, and then of course diversifying your skill set, and then going through the rigorous curriculum that was Berkeley. Because
Yeah.
as I said, if you can make it there, then you can more than likely make it anywhere, because just from what you gave is like, wow, that is. So when you walk in there, they expect you to say, hey, you need to know levels 1 through 5. We're not going to walk back through you. We're not going to walk back over them with you. If you don't know, you're gonna drown, sink or swim at this point. So then of course with your own level of standards you set on yourself, when you're practicing for several hours a day. That's incredible, and I think I love the approach you have now at only 22. I keep telling you all, no, they're only 22 years old, and they've already arrived at this point where sometimes people will decades to understand. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be better, but please aim for things that give you reassurance. Like, no one's gonna be perfect. No one's gonna ever. Perfection is not something you should ever aim for. Aim for compassion. Aim for things where you can find the quiet victories. Like, if I have a guitar in my closet now, if I can strum that thing and do a few chords, I'll feel happy. It's like, you know what, because I couldn't do that before. So I think it's really great, because when you said that, when you was talking about how individuals will continue to push themselves and torture genes, that sort of thing. Now Sid, have you ever seen the movie, what's it called, Whiplash, I believe?
Oh, I haven't watched the whole thing myself, but I'm very familiar.
Okay. So of course, Miles Teller plays a drummer that's discovered by I'll call him J. Jonah Jameson, but J.K. Simmons, I believe, is his name, and turns him into a prolific jazz drummer, but pushes him to the point of insanity and obsession. And that's why I was like, man, I wonder how real musicians felt about that. Like, do they resonate with that sort of thing? I think you touched it, because I think you already touched on it, like, not torturing yourself just to reach that thing. And so Sid, since you have such a more measured, more proactive approach when it comes to music, is that something that you tell your peers in your community in order to help them approach their health mentally differently, or do they just follow by example when they see you in the studio and how you approach your creative process?
Oh yeah, no, I talk about it all the time. In
Nice.
fact, I feel like I talk about it more than I'm able to practice it myself.
I got you.
Yeah, no, on the Whiplash thing, I can tell you, I have a whole list, including that band director, of musicians who try to uphold that as some weird example of this is what it is, this is the craft, we're working really hard. And I'm like, I feel like every musician that I've seen look to examples like that have been worse musicians for it, and they're incredibly unhappy with themselves, and I just want them to stop. I want to shake them around a little bit, because it's completely unnecessary. And I feel like some of it is shaped by capitalism, I guess. I don't know how else to
that's fair.
To phrase it. Just this belief that we need to be constantly productive, constantly climbing, constantly getting better, and obviously that's encouraged by the fact that we do need to be constantly getting better and working in some way in order to survive, because we have to do that in order to make a living and keep food on the table. But it's just not conducive to art. It's just not. Like I said, we need to be okay with ourselves and relaxed to be part of the creative process, and to create things that we love, and be willing to explore and feel safe. I mentioned this in my live stream the other day. Some of my professors in my time at Berkeley would talk about the creative process as being a child again, just being bright-eyed and exploring and learning things and not having any fear. I've never been able to be in that mindset that rise and grind mindset.
Right? Yeah.
Without having that like fear and that like especially fear of failure just like
Oh yeah.
paralyzing me.
Oh,
So
man.
I feel like it's so incredibly important to like get away from that and encourage other people to get away from that, because it's so toxic and it's holding back art, I think, in a huge way.
No, I think I think that's a beautiful way of looking at it, because the fear because I often wonder, where did the fear of failure come from? Is it from our upbringing, or is it from the car culture? Is it from the people we hung around growing up, the people we looked up to? Because when I was a kid, I was like, okay, never give up. I mean, of course, never give up, but don't fail. You don't fail. If you lose, you fail. That sort of thing. But now, in my more calmer years, I'll say, I was like, nah, I didn't fail. I'm just learning. I'm learning. Like, failure is actually one of the most important parts of the process. How are you going to be able? How are you able to get better if you don't fail first? Like, you'll never be able to fully appreciate what success is, and then even the success changes a good bit when you understand how failure works, because some people say, well, yeah, being number one isn't success for me. Being happy with what I am, or who I am, or what I do, that's success for me. And of course, as a musician, of course, everyone plays different instruments. Music sounds different to everybody. Not everyone is going to enjoy the same genre. That's what makes music so subjective, because it is art. Like looking at a painting, some people may enjoy more classical music, other people may enjoy more contemporary, some people may enjoy jazz, that sort of thing. So I think that is a great mantra, to live by. Like, just understanding that the fear of failure isn't going to end everything for you. It's just the beginning. I think that is amazing. And you mentioned earlier, wanting to create an environment, for different people. How has that been for you, being one of the vocal leaders in your community, both locally and the community at large, for creating more of a inclusive sort of environment for individuals who live a different lifestyle than others, or people who have a different philosophy or identity than most traditionalists? Because I've only known you excuse me, for a short time, but one thing is for certain, and two things for sure, that the community that you have built up is one that's built on resonance, understanding, and a place where you don't feel stressed, because either it's through your music or through your words, and maybe a combination of both. It's like, how can I describe it? It's like sleeping on a cloud, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So what I'm saying is it's like sleeping on a cloud, and I've seen people who are I've seen individuals who are gay or bi, trans, and everything else, like, just feel like, it doesn't matter who or what I am. All that matters is the person I am, and I think that's a very beautiful thing, to be able to create a community like that. So has it always been like that for you? Was that one of the goals you had as you were growing up musically, and as well as growing up in life, to wherever you go with your music or wherever it takes you, to make sure that people feel embraced when they come across you? Because you seem to do that so well at such a young age.
Thank you. Yeah, for sure. Like, growing up, I always wanted more of a community who was, more accepting, more kind, and I don't know, just sort of more excited and willing to learn new things.
Yeah.
And what's funny is this community that I've built right now, I think, is a much longer time coming than I ever kind of saw before. Because It was more of a subconscious thing when I was younger, and then I got to Berkeley and I got more involved in activism on campus because, you know, Berkeley does have a lot of problems in addition to being a prestigious school, not unlike a lot of other private institutions.
Oh yeah.
It has a lot of problems with gender equity. 2017, which was my second year there was a huge mishandling. Like there was I don't know how to word this, sorry, Louis.
You're fine.
There was sort of an exposing of issues with sexual harassment and assault that were happening on campus.
Wow.
Things like that were going on, and I sort of had a realization of how much more I needed to be speaking up, and so I did. And a lot of people did not like me for it.
Well, if you want to make change, yeah, that's what usually happens when revolutionaries want to make real change. You're gonna make some enemies along the way. So I think that's par for the course. So keep going.
In some parts of it, I will admit I was maybe more blunt than I needed to be. But hey, you know, we can't get it all right.
Right.
And I also, around the same time, started adminning a Facebook group called 433 Danger Posting. I'm not an admin there anymore, but for several years I was. For like 3 years I was. And the whole point of that was to develop within new music, which is like modern concert music.
Oh, okay.
Develop a more inclusive community there, and that one was more of a group effort. It was a concerted effort. There was a whole community already there. Mm-hmm. And so from these two experiences on their own separately, I made a lot of friends, and I really connected with people, and I feel like over time they started intermingling you know, in my online spaces. Yeah. And then when I started streaming, it was just like everyone's here. Everyone from Berkeley, from, you know, back home, and from that Facebook group that I adminned, everyone that like I was so connected to already just sort of came, and they met each other, and we all just like, I don't know, it just happened. Like, I didn't have to stream to 0 people for 3 years like some people do, which is something I'm eternally grateful for.
Yeah.
And just instantly I saw like the potential that this community had, and I wanted to think about how I could thank them and how I could serve them. And I feel like that was just to continue those missions that I had already started in meeting them, in trying to make my campus a better place, and trying to make, you know, the new music scene a better place, and just trying to connect them in a way that is fulfilling and healthy, and hopefully take in some new people and help them along the way as well, and just continue those friendships.
It's because it's beautiful. You know, I was thinking as you were talking about all the changes that, you know, you were instrumental in trying to help, you know, either unearth, you know, so we can, you know, to get rid of the weeds amongst the flowers, or help create a inclusive, more safe environment for all people, you know, for everybody. You know, every human being has the right to live a life of fulfillment, you know, and happiness, and by the place where you were learning and of course growing, you were also trying to make sure that those who were there and those who would come after you leave would be able to feel safe. And I think that's incredible, because some people don't realize. If you guys think about it, you know, musicians have been very, very influential in both talking about the mood of the times we lived in. If you go all the way back to since time immemorial, you know, from the Renaissance to the Jim Crow era to even till now, you know, musicians always have a way, an innate skill of being able to convey the emotions of the general populace and what people are feeling, whether it's happiness or pain or, you know, that sort of thing. And, you know, it's the same can be said for your music as well, Sid. You know, okay. This is what I want. Sid, they made a beautiful song for me, and you'll hear it in all of its glory, you know, down the road. But you know, created such an emotion in me where I felt everything. I felt happiness. I felt the process it took for you in order to bring that masterpiece to life. And I was like, wow, music really can help your mood in such a beautiful way, because of course music, it does regulate the mood, because of its rhythmic and repetitive aspects. Music engages that neocortex of our brain, which calms us and reduces, impulsivity and stuff like that. So is that some of the things you have in mind, like when you approach whether it's a passion project or something for a commission for a client, like is mood something that you think about quite often? How will it make them mentally feel as well as emotionally? Or is it more of a natural feel for you as you go throughout your process?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's a little bit of both, obviously subconsciously with me, I carry, what's in my heart, my perceptions of other people, the things that are going on in my life in the moment. And then also consciously, as a producer, your job is to create and enhance the mood and the vibe of whatever you're creating. Yeah. Right? So that's when I'm writing and when I'm mixing, I'm always thinking about what is, for like, obviously more mechanically, like what's appropriate, what is this serving in context. So, like for the thing that I worked on for you, I was thinking, okay, so this needs to be something that a voice can talk over, that will serve the purpose
my
of
voice is
being
kind of strong
in a podcast.
Right.
And then after that, I have to think about, so what is the greater picture? What is the greater work about? What sort of emotional and aesthetic purpose is this serving? And so, that's something that I always have to think about, from the time that I write to the time that I'm mixing to the time that I'm mastering and sending out the file. Like, I have to always be thinking, like, what should this feel like? And is what I'm doing right now serving the mood, the vibe, and the overall feeling?
No, it's beautiful. I can tell, as someone who just loves the soul of music, I can.
Oh, you're cutting out a little bit.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay, sorry about that. Discord, stop it. But but no, as someone who enjoys the soul of music, I think I can tell just how much time and effort you put into a lot of your craft, and I can't thank you enough for it. I highly suggest. And since we're talking about music real quick, so for all of you who listen to my podcast, who stream, I know a lot of you have been dealing with a lot of DMCA situations to where you want to have music, you want, like Sid was talking about, create a vibe, a mood, if you're coming in and enjoying someone's stream. Sid, would you mind telling the listeners about your upcoming sort of projects or things you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about it? Okay. So, my bad. So, would you mind telling the listeners a little bit more about that, about what you have coming up?
Yeah, of course. So, I myself started streaming on Twitch in April, and I moved to YouTube just very, very recently. Mostly because of this whole DMCA debacle and the way that Twitch has been handling it. And I was feeling very insecure and anxious about that, even though I personally wasn't using any DMCA-able music. And as a musician, it was becoming slightly frustrating, especially if I was wanting to work on like a friend's covers on stream. It became very difficult, and it started limiting me very, very much. So I started thinking about, ways that I could help solve the problem. Obviously, I was inspired slightly by Harris Heller's Stream Beats, and I thought, we need a more diverse range of free and accessible music that streamers and other video content creators, like even on YouTube, can use without getting struck for copyright. And so I, on December 9th, will be releasing both on my website to download and on Spotify to stream a pack of completely free music that any content creator can use without any worry about getting copyright struck. Super excited about it. It was originally all going to be just my own music, but over the past couple days, my community has started contributing their own tracks as well. So I'm starting to phase those in. Oh my goodness. It's just been such an amazing process and so exciting to build. And I'm just so excited to see how other people can use this music, and hopefully it'll take some of that stress off of, you know, worrying about being able to play enough music and not lose your channel in the process.
No, I think it's great, because we were talking about mental health and how important it is, and what music, like I said, music is very important in all of that, man. I've been in some moods before where music has helped me get to a calmer state, and watching someone, your favorite streamer, whomever they may be, play a certain game, the music that goes along with it, it creates a much more encompassing mood outside of what you're watching, outside of the streamer you're watching. The music is very important, and of course, those the DMCA laws are tricky. You gotta, if you don't have the licensing for it, even if it's like they're even telling people to use to mute the in-game music now. It's gotten so bad. So I can say, as someone who enjoys finding diverse entertainment, I applaud you, Sid, and your lovely community for all the contributions that you guys that you all are using, like as far as like putting your work out there for free, and like you said, accessible and free. Like those two words aren't usually thrown together, especially in 2020. So so with all the work that you all are putting in into this, I think it can, who knows, it could really make waves, and more creators and more musicians could offer something like that in order to not to make it a war sort of thing, but to fight back against having your creativity being stifled like that, because a lot of work goes into these things. So that is really, really, truly beautiful. Thank you, Sid, for leading the charge on that.
Of course.
No,
doing what I can.
You're doing what you can, right? Okay, doing what you can. So I do have, this is probably, and this next question is going to be really important. So like I really wanted to talk to a musician. The next handful of questions are really important. So I asked our friend Pascal a few weeks ago, like, what instrument was the most challenging to pick up. Now you play how many instruments now?
So clarinet is the one that I am most proficient at.
Woo.
And then I also sing, I do a little bit of keyboard.
Nice.
And oh goodness, have I tried to play the guitar.
I got you. So what has been the most fun instrument that you, because I know of course you have the most proficiency with the clarinet. Was it also the most fun for you? Was that one been the most fun, or has the keyboard been more fun in a sense, or has it been an instrument you haven't tried yet that you want to pick up?
I think the clarinet has been the most fun. It was my first love. Like, I know the clarinet inside and out, and
Nice.
I feel like it's one of the few instruments that I feel like truly connected to. Like, it feels like an extension of myself.
Oh wow.
I can be out of practice and I'll come back to it, and I still know where everything is and where all the problems are.
Wow.
And so it's always just been, I think, the easiest and most fluid way to express myself and,
No, that's
have a good
great.
time.
No, it's great because I want to. This is one of the most outlandish questions I've ever had to ask. But I often wonder. All right, so Sid, have you ever watched SpongeBob at all from your childhood to now? Okay, so
Yes, I have a story.
Okay, no, tell the story first. Tell the story first, and I'll ask you the question at the end. So no, go ahead.
So, Squidward, right?
Yes, that's where I'm going. That's exactly where I'm going. Okay, all right, this is great. Go for it.
So my friend Sam Moffat actually wrote a piece dedicated to Steven Hillenburg, and I was in during my time at Berkeley, I was in a student choir which was led by Claude, Pascal's brother.
Yes.
I was in that choir, and so my friend Sam wrote this piece dedicated to Steven Hillenburg specifically for my choir to perform, and specifically for me to play clarinet as Squidward. And by far, it is and was and always will be, I think, the best thing that has ever happened. Like it filled me with so much joy, and it was such a fun little thing to do. So yeah, I thought I would share that.
That's really cool. That's really cool, because I often wonder, because I know you've practiced, for hours at a time over the years on the clarinet. Why can't Squidward get any better with the clarinet? Why does it? What happened? Like, in some
it's because he's underwater. The reed is waterlogged, and that's what reeds sound like when they're waterlogged.
Oh, so it's been a running joke this entire time. Oh, wow.
It's really funny. I love that.
So wait, so Squidward, if Squidward was above water and he was
could probably play very well, yeah.
Wow. Oh, Hillenberg, rest in peace. You genius. Yeah. Wow, because there's this one episode, it was an earlier, and I forget which season, but Squidward was playing the clarinet and was playing, and then the doctor knocked on the door and said, "I'm sorry, we got reports of a dying cat on the premises." Like it was. Oh wow. Oh wow. Okay. Well, that was that. Now my whole mind has been blown. Like I had no idea I would get some secret lore on SpongeBob. So that's why I love
SpongeBob lore.
Okay. So there's so much that we can talk about this off once we're done. But okay. So Sid, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being part of this series. Like I enjoyed listening to a lot of the enlightenment that you provided, the insightfulness that you have, and this level of resonance that you bring whenever you grace our airwaves or the stream of people see you. So thank you so much for the gift that you bring to so many people.
So much. It was really nice getting to talk to you.
Oh, of course. So before you get out of here, though, would you mind dropping any of your socials so that these listeners can continue to follow you on your journey?
Of course. You can find me pretty much anywhere at Sydastry. So that's SYDASTRY. Like the astrological word synastry, but
yes,
with a D for Sid instead.
Yes.
I am on Twitter. I do live streams and just regular old video content on YouTube, and I have a Patreon, and Instagram and TikTok. So those are all the places you can find me and the things that I'm creating.
I'm telling you, Sid.
And my website is I didn't mean to.
No. Go. Yeah.
Yeah. My website is the same thing. www.sydastry.com. It's a brand new design right now. My Patreon's got a sneak peek at it ahead of time. But yeah, it's looking really nice, and I'm really excited for the things that we're gonna drop on there very soon.
I'm telling you, Sid, they moving and shaking out here in these streets, man. Sid, don't waste no time. It's like 22 years old already, just on their way to just helping change the world. One note at a time. Thank you for being a part of the series. This has been such a beautiful series, and to have you here to help make it enhance the knowledge and quality and encouragement it's been nothing short of a blessing. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, no problem. Well, everyone, that is all the time we have today. Please make sure to follow Sid on all of their various platforms. I'll make sure to post it in the description when you look at the episode on the various platforms it's released on, so you can just take the link and just go there. I had a lot of fun. I hope y'all did, listening to this. And Sid has been such a great guest. And so, this is part 3 of the Importance Mental Health series. Feel free to come back when we etch another chapter in this lovely series, edging us closer to the end of the year. And like I always say before we go, you're only a couple decisions away from discovering your purpose and maximizing potential. On behalf of the lovely, graceful Sid, I am your host, Professor Liquid. Please take care of each other. Make sure to take time for yourself every day. And until next time we meet, take care of yourselves. All right. Pool hours are over. Don't want you catching a cramp. Tell you what, come on back for a swim soon and we can catch up on life. In the meantime, check me out on Twitter at FormlessLiquid. You can also find this podcast on Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many others. Just type in Liquid Wisdom Podcast and boom, you're there. Catch you later.